In this video, we're going to learn about two-way tables. Two-way tables are a great way to display information or data we have about two variables that can be broken up into categories. These are called categorical variables. Here we have a two-way table about people's age and their favorite sport. And we're wondering for this question, how many of those surveyed said golf was their favorite sport? Well, here's our column for golf. So all we need to do is add 42 and 64. So we can see from the table that 106 people said golf was their favorite sport. Once again, we have a table about people's age and their favorite sport. And for this question, we're wondering how many people aged 35 or older were surveyed. In the previous question, we added a column. But for this question, we need to add a row. Now the 35 plus, that's just the name of the category. These are the people in this row that are 35 or older. So we need to add these four numbers to figure out how many people aged 35 or older were surveyed. When we add those up, we get 234. Sometimes we only have partial information, and we need to fill in the rest of the two-way table. In this two-way table, we have information about their gender identity, and we have information about the sport that they play. And we're assuming that they each play just one sport. Now you'll notice in this table, we have a row for the totals and a column for the totals. So down here, the 74 represents the total number of people that play baseball. Now notice here, the total. This represents the total number of people that were in the survey. So there were 149 people surveyed about their gender and the sport they play. Now, to fill in the missing pieces, we need to find either a row or a column that only has one number missing. So for instance, we could start here with the total number of people that play basketball, or we could start up here, the total number of males. Let's start here. So to figure out the total number of basketball players, we just need to subtract the number of baseball players from the total number of people. And what's left over will be the number of basketball players. So 149 minus 74, well, that equals 75. So there are 75 basketball players. Why don't we continue by calculating the total number of males? Let's see, there are 149 total people in this survey, 73 were females, so we just need to subtract 73 from 149 to figure out the total number of males. And that equals 76. We can figure out the total number of female basketball players by subtracting the number of male basketball players from the total number of basketball players. And we can figure out the total number of male baseball players by subtracting the number of males who play basketball from the total number of males. And there's two different ways to figure out the total number of female baseball players, but one way would be to subtract the number of male baseball players from the total number of baseball players. When working with data, we often don't have a two-way table, so we can create one. Now notice here we have information about whether people like pineapple in their pizza or not. Notice we have a total row here. And then we have which music class they're in, either band or general music. So let's work our way through this information. The 8th grade class at Middleton Middle School has 111 students total. So this is the total. So we'll put the 111 in the bottom right here. So 111 total people in this survey. Of those students, 54 are in band. Okay, so here's our column for band. And so the total number of students in band is 54. Of the students in band, so now we're only looking at the people that are in band, 14 like pineapple pizza. Well, let's see, if 14 band members do like pineapple pizza, then we can subtract to figure out the number of people who do not like, or number of band members that do not like pineapple pizza. Continuing on, 47 eighth grade students like pineapple pizza. Now remember, this survey only contains eighth grade students. So this information is not a category. But 47 students in the survey liked pineapple pizza. So that is the total number of people in the survey that like pineapple pizza. Let's go ahead and subtract to figure out the total number of students in general music that like pineapple pizza. All right, now that's it for our information. So let's go ahead and see what else we can fill in here. We can figure out the total number of students in general music by subtracting the total number of students in the survey and the number of students in band. Now we can figure out the total number of students in general music who don't like pineapple pizza by subtracting the number that do like pineapple pizza from the total number of students in general music. And finally, we can figure out the total number of eighth grade students in the survey who do not like pineapple pizza by adding the total number of students in band who do not like pineapple pizza, plus the number of students in general music who do not like pineapple pizza. So notice when we're calculating a total, we end up adding. When we have a two-way table, we often use it to calculate probabilities. So let's read about this two-way table. A random survey was conducted about students' favorite subject. The two-way table displays the survey results. What is the probability that a given student said science was their favorite subject? When we're calculating probabilities, we can use a capital P to represent the probability, and then in parentheses right after that, we'll put what we want. So in this case, we want the probability that a student chose science. So in this case, we want the probability that a student said science was their favorite subject. When writing a probability fraction, in the numerator, that's where we put what we're looking for, or what we want. And in the denominator, we put the total. Now in this case, because of the way the question was written, the total is the total number of students in this survey. So looking this over, we see that the total, or the total number of students in this survey, is 388. So that goes in the denominator. Well, in the numerator, we want the number of students that said science was their favorite subject. Well, there were 66 ninth graders who said science was their favorite subject, and 43 10th graders who said science was their favorite subject, but 109 total students who said science was their favorite subject. So here is one way to write the probability that a given student said science was their favorite subject, 109 out of 388. Some people like to try to simplify their probability fractions, but often we just leave them as is and move on to writing it as a decimal. So if we calculate 109 divided by 388, we get 0.281. Now sometimes we even write those as percentages, or 28.1%. So the probability that a given student said science was their favorite subject is about 0.281. Here we're looking at the same categories but with new numbers. What is the probability that a given student was in 10th grade? So we want the probability that a given student is in 10th grade. Now in this situation, the total is the total number of students in the survey, which in this table is 382. And we're wondering about the probability that a student is a 10th grader. Let's see, we'll use the total number of 10th graders, or 225. So here's one way of writing the probability that a student is a 10th grader, 225 out of 382. Let's write that as a decimal. To do that, we'll do 225 divided by 382, and we get 0.589. And we could also write that as a percent. So a little over half of the students in the survey were 10th graders. Here again, we have a two-way table about students' favorite subject. Let's read this question carefully. Suppose you choose a student at random. Given that the student's favorite subject is history, what is the probability that they are in 10th grade? All right, we are told that the student chosen has a favorite subject of history. So what that means is we're only looking at students in this row here, because we're told that the chosen student had a favorite subject of history. And we're wondering, of these students whose favorite subject was history, what is the probability that they're in 10th grade? Now, there's a certain way to write that. Now, what we want is the probability of a 10th grader. So let's put probability of 10th. But before we close the parentheses, we're going to put this condition. And it means given that their favorite subject was history. So we say the probability the student is in 10th grade given that their favorite subject is history. So this little bar here means given that. So notice what we're curious about comes first, the probability that the student is a 10th grader. What comes next after the bar is the condition, given that their favorite subject was history. All right, well, there were 81 total students whose favorite subject was history. And of those 81, 25 were 10th graders. So given that a student's favorite subject was history, the probability that they're a 10th grader is 25 out of 81. We can write that as a decimal by dividing. 25 divided by 81 is 0.309, or 30.9%. When we have a condition like this, we call this conditional probability. Here we have another two-way table about a student's grade that they're in and their favorite subject. So here, suppose you choose a 10th grade student at random. What is the probability their favorite subject is writing? So in this case, being a 10th grade student is the condition. We know that's happened. So if this chosen student is a 10th grader, we're wondering what the probability that the favorite subject is writing. So let's write that out using our notation for conditional probabilities. So we're wondering what the probability is that their favorite subject is writing. But we're given that they're a 10th grader. So we already know they're a 10th grader. That's the condition. And we're wondering what the probability is that their favorite subject is writing. So we're only looking at 10th graders, because we already know that this chosen student is a 10th grader. And of these 247 10th graders, there are 68 whose favorite subject is writing. So the probability of choosing a student whose favorite subject is writing, given that we know they're a 10th grader, is 68 out of 247. Or as a decimal, 0.275. And we do 68 divided by 247 to get that, or as a percent. In this video, we've learned how to read and create two-way tables, and we've also learned how to calculate probabilities using two-way tables. I hope these examples have been helpful. This is Mr. Ela, signing off.